Very good afternoon and welcome to Europe News presented by Desi and Europe. These are the headlines for today. EU may suspend Brexit deal. Finland can close its border for immigrants. The price of food may rise even more than expected during the summer and autumn in Finland. Finnish defense minister headed to NATO dinner meeting. Scotland is looking for independence from UK. EU will acquire more than 100,000 doses of monkeypox vaccine. And finally, the topic of discussion today on Putin international excursions, why security personnel gather his POTTY. Okay, so let's go to the details of these news. Okay, so the first top news is EU may suspend Brexit trade deal. If the UK accepts a draft law that unilaterally overrides portions of the Brexit Accord, the European Commission won't rule out suspending the EU-UK trade agreement. Maros Šefčovič, the Vice President of the Commission and Chief Brexit Negotiator, told Euronews that we would be extremely firm and cool, but at the same time proportionate in our approach. He mentioned, we still want to keep the door open for negotiation, so our next moves will be incremental. The stern warning from Maros comes 2 days after Downing Street unveiled a draft bill to repeal some provisions of Northern Ireland Protocol, the specially designed framework that currently permits trade of goods between Northern Ireland, which is a part of UK, and the Republic of Ireland, an EU member state. The protocol guarantees the invisibility of land border between the two sides and upholds the terms of the peace accord that put an end to decades of sectarian strife. In order to prevent border checks between the two sides, Northern Ireland abides by EU custom regulations, continue to participate in the single market for goods, and implements EU VAT law. In latest proposal, UK suggests a green route that would exempt items bound solely for the Northern Irish market from customs inspection. The processing of products that originates in Great Britain, travel via Northern Ireland, and enter the EU through the Republic of Ireland would take through a red channel. UK also wants to replace the European Court of Justice jurisdiction with an independent arbitration and grant Northern Ireland the same tax benefits as the rest of United Kingdom, including VAT. Maros Šefčovič said the bill violates the law. He said it is against international law and we don't this offer seriously. Okay, other news from Finland. Finland can close its border for immigrants. Yes, the amendments of the Border Guard and Preparedness Act presented by the government are currently being discussed in Parliament. At the same time, Green Left MPs and government have already spread a lot of misleading information according to which it would not be possible for Finland to protect its external border with a migrant in the event of hybrid attack across the eastern border. In fact, according to international law, Finland can prevent foreign citizens from entering Finnish territory. Basic Finns demand that the law must include the possibility of stopping accepting asylum application at the border if necessary, if the mass of asylum seekers are trying to put pressure on Finland. The main danger of a hybrid attack on Finland by the masses of asylum seekers would be to allow the mass of people inside Finland to process applications and wait for processing. As it is well known, when a newcomer has managed to cross the Finnish border, it is often not necessary to leave Finland in practice because after a negative asylum decision, it is possible to appeal the decision or apply for asylum new grants, leaving the application rarely open for years. Finland also has a large number of people living in the country illegally, the exact number which is not even known. It is estimated that there are several thousand people, possibly as many as 10,000 people, whose stay in the country is not known or allowed by authorities. It is therefore very important to note that the freedom of movement of a foreigner requires a legal residence in Finland. I personally fully support if this will come in act. There must be no place for any illegal ones in any country. Only if you have the right documents and permission, you should be allowed. Other news related to inflation. The price of food may rise even more than expected during the summer and autumn in Finland. During the spring, consumer food prices have risen at an alarming rate. According to Palermo's economic study, prices will continue to rise and prices may be on the rise for a long time. food may become more expensive than predicted. The effects of pandemic and the war in Ukraine have been most pronounced and fastest in the price of inputs such as fertilizers and energy. This has raised the cost of agriculture sharply, but the shift will be passed on no producer prices and consumer food prices, according to a review of Belarus economic study. In May, food prices rose 9%, while consumer prices rose 7% overall. The rise in food prices will accelerate during summer and autumn due to rapid rise in producer prices. However, there are many uncertainties in the estimate. There is also a risk if the grain harvest were lower than expected in Finland and globally, it would raise consumer food prices even more than forecast. The consumer is horrified by the rising cost of everything, the constant rise in inflation, and after the holiday crunch, the economic hangover can be horrible. Other news from Finland: Finnish defense minister headed to NATO dinner meeting. Antti Kaikkonen, the defense minister of Finland, will attend a dinner meeting of NATO defense ministers on Wednesday night in Brussels, the defense ministry stated on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Minister Kaikkonen has a number of bilateral talks planned, including one with Oleksiy Reznikov, the defense minister of Ukraine. The invasion of Ukraine by Russia and the impact the crisis has had on Europe's security situation are among the debate topics planned. The summit will also feature the defense ministers of Sweden, Georgia, and Ukraine, in addition to Kaikkonen and representatives from 30 member nations of NATO. Joseph Borrell, the High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy of the European Union, has also been invited to the working dinner. In the ministry statement, Kaikkonen stated that I look forward to an important and serious discussion on the security situation in Europe. The statement also noted that the minister was scheduled to attend a meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group at NATO headquarters, which was hosted by the US. Another bad news for UK. Scotland looking for independence from UK. First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, announced her new plan to call an independence referendum comparing Scotland to other European nations and making the case that Scotland would be more equitable, prosperous, and content without the United Kingdom. At Bute House, her official house in Edinburgh, Sturgeon told reporters, after everything that has happened, Brexit, COVID, Boris Johnson, it is time to give out a different and better vision. Do we continue to adhere to UK economic model that condemns us to relatively subpar social and economic outcomes that are more likely to deteriorate than improve once we leave the EU? Do we instead cast a hopeful, upbeat gaze in the direction of similar nations around Europe for inspiration? First Minister inquired. Nicola emphasized that a new independence referendum, which she has pledged to deliver before the end of 2023, would have to be legal. She claims that if Boris Johnson's administration refuses to grant a Section 30 order, which gives the Scottish government temporary power to hold a referendum, she will lay out her own path to the referendum based on legal advice. On the other hand, Douglas Ross, the leader of opposition, criticized the latest step towards independence in the Scottish Parliament on Tuesday, saying it would be a waste of Scottish government's time and resources. He said, we can concentrate on uniting Scotland, or as the SNP prefers, on separating it. It is the wrong focus at the worst possible time to push for another polarizing referendum, possibly even an unofficial wildcard referendum, the leader of Scottish Conservatives remarked. Another news from monkeypox vaccine. So EU will acquire more than 100,000 doses of the monkeypox vaccine. To stop the ongoing monkeypox outbreak, the European Commission has agreed to purchase about more than 100,000 doses of vaccine. Bavarian Nordic, a Danish biotechnology business, produces the third generation vaccinations. Stella Kyriakides, the European Commissioner for Health and Food Safety, made the announcement on Tuesday morning before a meeting with health ministers from the member states. According to Kyriakides, the first dose supplies to the nations most in need will start at the end of June. The collaborative program will also include participation from non-EU nations of Norway and Iceland. Finally, the topic of discussion is today on Putin's incremental excursions, why security personnel gather his POTTY. So today's science is so advanced that it is possible to learn a great deal about an individual by studying their DNA. The major international leaders do not want their DNA sample to fall into hands of adversarial nations. Prior to their meeting, French President Emmanuel Macron expressed his concern that Russia would receive the DNA sample. As a result, he was unable to complete the COVID exam, which led to the two leaders sitting at a lengthy table. Regarding DNA samples, the Russian president is also quite cautious. This is because DNA can be used to evaluate someone's level of health. Putin, however, does not want to divulge anything, including his DNA, to his adversaries so that they might learn about his health. Because of this, when Putin travels abroad, his bodyguards also pick up his bathroom waste. Later, his toilet is boxed up and transported back to Moscow. Members of Putin's security team reportedly gather his toilet through a unique packet. It is thereafter kept it in a briefcase designed for this use. During 2019, Ukraine's summit in Paris, 6 bodyguards were spotted accompanying Putin to the restroom. One bodyguard stepped inside as soon as they exited the restroom, leaving 5 of them in charge of maintaining the security of their immediate area. According to a veteran journalist, Putin has carried his toilet about with him ever since he took office. The employees at a Vienna museum claim that Putin had brought his portable toilet with him. Okay, so that is all from the Europe news presented by Desi Teacher in Europe. And I hope you have got all the information what is required until today. And see you in the next video. Thank you very much for joining Europe news presented by Desi Teacher in Europe. Have a good day.